When the mind returns again and again to the image of another, know that it is not coincidence, but rather a stirring from the depths of your soul. Do not chastise yourself for lingering thoughts, for they are the unconscious echo of what seeks integration. In the stillness of repetitive remembrance, your psyche is at work, urging you to reconcile hidden fragments of the self, inviting you toward wholeness. When a person lingers in the chambers of your mind, appearing not just in memory, but in moments of silence, in dreams, in the subtle movements of your emotions, it is not mere sentimentality or psychological weakness. It is something far older and deeper, something that comes not from the conscious will, but from an inward necessity. This recurrence, this persistent return of the other, belongs not to the rational world, but to the inner reality where meaning precedes logic and symbols govern truth. Often we believe we are thinking about someone because of unresolved feelings, nostalgia, or perhaps longing. But what if the truth is more mysterious? What if this repeated thought is not about the person themselves, but about what they represent in the unfolding of your psychic life? What if their presence in your mind is not theirs at all, but yours, an aspect of your own soul that has yet to be claimed? The human psyche does not operate in straight lines. It is circular, spiral, and layered. When someone appears repeatedly in your inner world, it may be because they carry an image, an archetype, or a psychic tone that your unconscious is attempting to bring into the light. This other is a mirror not of the ego, but of the self in its incompleteness. Your mind is not merely repeating a thought. It is trying to solve a symbol. To modernize, such an idea might appear mystical or unscientific. But the unconscious does not care for appearances. Its language is not clarity but complexity, not explanation but image, and in that image, in the psychic resonance of that person, lies something that must be faced. It is not that they have power over you, it is that you have yet to integrate what they awaken within you. You see, the unconscious does not differentiate sharply between what is me and what is you. Especially in relationships, we often project immense portions of our psychic life onto others. What we see in them, their beauty, cruelty, their indifference or warmth, is often the shape of our own internal figures. When someone continues to haunt your thoughts, they are not merely out there, they are also in here, dwelling in a part of you that is not yet conscious. Such resonance may emerge in love, in grief, or even in anger. But underneath all these emotional wrappings lies a psychological truth. The soul is calling attention to a wound, a pattern, or a forgotten truth. The person who will not leave your thoughts is a symbol of something unfinished, a story, a transformation, or a confrontation that your ego may have denied, but your deeper self has not forgotten. This is not a call to pursue that person, or even to cling to the idea of them. That would be a mistake, a literalization of what is symbolic. Rather, the call is inward, to ask, what does this presence want from me? What do I feel when they appear in my thoughts? What part of me is trying to be heard through their image? The one who lives in your thoughts may be a gatekeeper. Through them, your psyche is asking you to descend into yourself, not to fix or change the past, but to become more whole in the present. This is the process of inner transformation, and it does not obey the linear rules of logic. It is circular, like the orbit of a moon around the unconscious sun. Again and again it returns, not to punish you, but to remind you. We are made of layers, and each person who touches us deeply pulls a thread in that tapestry. To think of someone persistently is not weakness, it is a summons. It is as if your own soul is saying, "Look here, do not turn away." Something essential lies beneath this image, and so we listen, not with anxiety, not with obsession, but with reverence, not for the person, but for the process they represent. For in the end, no one stays in the psyche unless they belong to some unfinished work. And when that work is done, the thought will dissolve like mist in the morning, not forgotten, but no longer needed. There are aspects of ourselves we cannot see, not because they are hidden by distance or complexity, but because they are too close, woven into the fabric of our being. What we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves does not vanish, it takes on a life of its own. It moves beneath the threshold of awareness, gathering form and force until it steps out into the world, cloaked not in our face, but in the face of another, and when that person enters our life, or refuses to leave our mind, we do not simply see them, we see something of ourselves, long buried, rising to meet us. The one who haunts your thoughts may not be a figure of love or regret alone. They may be the carrier of something more subtle, more unsettling, a projection, not of fantasy or illusion in the shallow sense, but of a truth that could not find its way into the light except through the disguise of the other. We are drawn to them, repelled by them, consumed by thoughts of them, because they hold a piece of what we have disowned. This is not a flaw in the mind, but a necessity of the soul. For what is not accepted within must eventually be seen without. That person, their tone, their silence, their eyes, their absence, becomes a mirror, not the kind that flatters, but the kind that reveals. They show us what we were not ready to face. Perhaps they are confident in a way we are not. Perhaps they wound us by reflecting our longing. Or perhaps their indifference cuts so sharply because it echoes our own buried coldness, our own withdrawal from the emotional life. The one we cannot stop thinking about often represents not who they are, but who we are in relation to them. They stir something in the inner world that had gone numb. They awaken emotions we thought we had mastered. They rupture the surface and summon the hidden. And in this disturbance they act as the emissary of what lies beneath, the shadow. This shadow is not evil, though it may carry darkness. It is not wickedness, but woundedness, rejected potentials, suppressed emotions, qualities once punished, ignored, or misunderstood. The shadow includes envy and rage, yes, but also creativity, desire, assertiveness, and authenticity. It is all that was pushed away because it did not fit the image we were taught to wear. When someone causes a deep, unsettling ripple in our inner life, it is likely because they carry the traits or truths we have neglected in ourselves, and so we become preoccupied, not with the person as they are, but with what they disturb within us. Our imagination attaches to them, trying to resolve the tension, trying to either pull them closer or push them away. But this restlessness will not end in their actions or in ours, because the true conflict is internal. We are not battling to forget them. We are struggling to reclaim something we gave away when we first learned to hide. The psyche is not cruel, but it is relentless. It will place before you again and again those who provoke your growth by irritating your illusions. If you continue to meet the same kind of person, or if one remains fixed in your thoughts despite all reason, it may be because they hold a key, not to a door between you and them, but to a door within yourself, a door you locked long ago and now no longer remember why. This process is uncomfortable. To admit that the other is not simply wrong or right or special, but symbolic. That takes courage. It asks for honesty that shatters the self-image, but in that shattering there is clarity. The goal is not to conquer the shadow, but to integrate it, to recognize it as your own. To say, yes, that too is me, and when you do, when the shadow no longer needs to wear someone else's face, it returns to you, not to harm, but to heal. Its energy becomes available to you. Its wisdom becomes yours. The person may still appear in your memory, but the grip is gone. You no longer chase them because you have found what they represented, the missing fragment of yourself. There comes a moment when the outer world loses its power to distract, and something from within begins to stir, quietly at first, like a whisper from a forgotten room in the soul. It is not ambition, not desire, not even grief. It is a pull towards something unnameable, something intimate yet distant. The face of someone you cannot stop thinking about becomes not merely a memory, but a signpost. Their presence in your inner world is not about them. It is about the road you are being asked to walk. The psyche does not evolve by accident. It unfolds with purpose, though that purpose is rarely visible at the surface. You are not being punished by persistent thoughts, nor are you stuck. You are being summoned, not toward the other, but toward yourself. The one who occupies your mind has become a carrier of meaning a spark that lights the descent into your own depths, for what you seek is not resolution in the outer world, but a reunion with what you lost within. This is the beginning of the great journey inward, a movement not of geography, but of consciousness. The person who appears again and again is not only someone you once loved or longed for. They are a threshold. Through them, something in you has been activated. Pain, desire, nostalgia, restlessness. These are not obstacles. They are signals. They point to the place within where you are not yet whole. The soul does not unfold through repetition of the known. It requires disruption, and often it is through the disturbance caused by another that the journey of becoming truly oneself begins. The thoughts that haunt you are not demanding answers. They are demanding honesty. What have you forgotten? What part of you did you abandon in order to be accepted, loved, or safe? The one you cannot forget may embody that very part, alive and vibrant in them, yet missing in you, and so begins the long and quiet process, not of healing in the conventional sense, but of integration. It is not about returning to who you were before the wound, nor is it about becoming someone else. It is about allowing what has been lost, denied, or feared to become part of the whole. The journey requires courage because it leads into darkness, not the darkness of evil, but of the unknown, that which you do not yet understand about yourself lives in that shadow. There will be illusions along the way. You may try to reach back to the person, thinking the answer lies in reconnecting. You may imagine that if only they returned, the restlessness would disappear. But this is a misunderstanding of the process. The person is not the destination, they are the symbol. What they awaken in you is yours to face, not theirs to resolve. You must learn to sit with the ache, not as a wound, but as a guide. As you walk deeper, you will encounter your inner figures, voices, memories, emotions long forgotten. They may come in dreams, stray thoughts, in sudden tears. Let them speak. They are not distractions. They are fragments of your totality. Each one you face and embrace brings you closer to the center, and that center is not a fixed identity. It is the self, greater than the ego, older than your name, and vast beyond comprehension. This process has no map. Each person's path is unique, marked by the symbols and trials suited to their own soul. There may be loneliness, confusion, and even fear, but there will also be moments of recognition where something deep within whispers, "This is true," and slowly, piece by piece, you will become less divided. The external obsession fades, not because you forget the person, but because you no longer need them to see yourself. You begin to recognize the other not as salvation or destruction, but as a necessary mirror. And once their role has been fulfilled, they recede, not into oblivion, but into peace. The thoughts grow quiet because the message has been received. What was broken has begun to mend. What was hidden has come to light. And you, who once thought you were searching for someone else, discover that all along the journey was toward home. There are moments when reality seems to shift ever so slightly, not in form, but in meaning. You pass a place and suddenly remember them. A song plays, and it is their name you hear in the melody. Their face appears in dreams not once, but again and again, untouched by time. You think it coincidence, at first a trick of memory or sentimentality, but the recurrence is too precise, too charged with emotion, too oddly timed. It is as if the universe itself is drawing a circle around your inner world, saying, "Pay attention here." We are taught to dismiss these moments, to explain them away as accidents of the mind or chance patterns in time, but there is a different kind of logic at play, one that does not rely on cause and effect, but on meaning. The world of the soul does not speak in linear events. It moves through symbols, rhythms, and echoes, and sometimes it speaks through the external world in ways that mirror the movement of the inner one. When someone appears over and over, not physically but through signs, thoughts, moments, names, and images, it is not just the memory of them that returns, it is the meaning of them. The role they play in your psychic life becomes activated, as if something within and something without are briefly aligned, and in that alignment something stirs that is greater than memory. It is not the past returning, it is the soul calling. This call does not demand you act, it demands you listen. It is not always clear why this person, why now, or why in this way, but that very uncertainty is what marks the moment as significant. What repeats itself with such precision does so not to control you, but to awaken you. It is a whisper not from the heavens above, but from the depths within, a whisper that says, here is where you lost something, here is where you must look again. These moments are not there to lead you back to the person, they are not signs to pursue them or to revive something that once was. Rather, they are signs that your soul is circling something essential, something you perhaps overlooked, denied, or abandoned in the aftermath. That person becomes a symbol, and symbols do not belong to the surface of life. They are doorways. The more you try to rationalize them, the further their meaning slips from your grasp. But when you begin to observe them with reverence instead of resistance, their message begins to unfold. Why do you still think about them? Why does their name still feel like a soft wind brushing against your memory? It is because they were not merely a person in your life. They were a catalyst, a cipher for something you needed to feel, to realize, to transform. Their image returns not to torment you, but to complete something left undone. And sometimes it is not even about them at all. It is about the life you began to touch when you knew them, a part of you that woke up in their presence, however briefly, perhaps a softness, perhaps a strength, perhaps a yearning that was pure but never fulfilled. Their appearance in your inner world is not always about love or regret. It can be about awakening, the way certain dreams never leave you because they said something too true to forget. To chase the signs literally is to misunderstand their nature. These are not commands from fate. They are invitations to notice, to reflect, to return, not to the person, but to the moment in yourself that they illuminated. The moment that still calls for your attention. Meaning is not always loud. Often it comes like a breath in the quiet, like a pattern you only see when you stop trying to find it. The return of the same thought, the same name, the same ache. It is not a trap, it is a compass, not pointing outward but inward, and when you begin to follow it with honesty rather than fear, you find that what seemed to be about someone else was, in the end, about you. It is never the external sign that matters most. It is what it awakens. The whisper is not telling you a story you already know. It is asking you to listen to the story you have not yet told yourself. And when you finally do, when you gather its pieces and speak it within, the signs no longer haunt you. They become quiet because their work is done. Let your persistent thoughts not be your tormentors, but your guides. For in the realm of consciousness and the unconscious, the soul speaks most clearly through repetition. Embrace the memory, not to chase, but to listen, and in that listening you move from fragmentation toward the self. For the greatest alchemy is not to hold on to what was, but to transform it within, and in doing so, become more truly you.